Hello everyone and welcome to this quick video on Romeo and Juliet. It's about the key quotations which you've been studying in class, and they're the same quotations which you should be using in any essay response to really show your knowledge about the characters and the key themes for Romeo and Juliet. Now, as a reminder, those key themes are love or true love, hatred, violence, and destiny or fate. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to display the quotations on screen like this, and you will then get a few seconds, or pause it if you need to write down what you know about this quotation, so where it's from in the play, who says it, what they feel, what they mean, what Shakespeare's trying to say, the message, how it connects to the themes, anything like that, and write a response, and then I'll go through. So pause it now if you need to. And then here's the first one. So, a pair of star-crossed lovers. This is from the prologue, and it's effectively Shakespeare giving away the ending to the play. So you have to think to yourself, well, why would he do that? Why would he give away the ending to the play? Well, it's to try and show you that Romeo and Juliet's deaths, they're inevitable. They are set to happen. The tragedy is foretold right from the very beginning. So nothing they do as individuals, as human beings, has any sense of control over their free will. Their fates are sealed. And that's because both families need to be punished. To be taught that their feud and their hatred is pointless. And also by the end is to try and show you that despite their love only being a few days old, that love meant more to them than life itself, and that's therefore the meaning of true love that people thought was that some people watching the play might have thought was just teenage infatuation, but actually it was true love. Okay, second one, I have a soul of lead. So again, write down or pause if you need to. So again, this is about Romeo at the start of the play. This is Romeo really being in touch with his emotions, and he is throughout the play. He's a very emotional character. He's the opposite to Mercutio in this respect, who just kind of dismisses love and any sort of romantic feelings connected to it. Romeo's often feeling down when it comes to love. At the start, he has unrequited love for Rosalind. And later on, he has Juliet taken away from him. So there's actually only a small part of the play at the end of Act 1 and Act 2 when he's with Juliet and he marries her off stage that love is actually kind to him. For most of the time, he feels love is a burden, it's a heavy weight like lead. He also says that love pricks like a thorn, so it causes him a lot of pain as well. Next one, forswear its sight, for I never saw true beauty until this night. So again, this is from quite close to the start of the play. This is where Romeo actually sees Juliet for the first time, and he realises that everything he's felt before in terms of love, such as for Rosalind, wasn't actually true love. It was just lust, or it didn't really have that sort of deeper level of meaning to it. And so here he's redefining effectively for himself what true love actually is. And so this changes him, it changes his life, it changes his future, it changes his fate, his destiny. And so you can really talk here about how love, true love, is combining with the theme of destiny to shape Romeo as a character. And obviously the rhyming couplet emphasises the importance of that defining moment in the sort of journey of his character. Next one, by the stalking honor of my kin, to strike him dead I hold it not a sin. So again, write down what you know about this one. Pause if you need to. So this is Tybalt, and this is when Tybalt recognises Romeo at the Capulet party, and he realises that Romeo as a Montague should not be there. He feels as though his family's pride, his family's honour and dignity is being completely disrespected, and so he vows that he's going to take revenge, and he won't even consider it a sin because it's the right thing to do, because Romeo shouldn't be there, offending their honour in the first place. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? So again, pause if you need to, write down. Okay, this is arguably the most famous quotation in Romeo and Juliet, and possibly in all of Shakespeare. And Juliet stands on her balcony questioning not where Romeo is, but why Romeo is the person that he is. Why did she have to fall in love with a Montague, with someone from the one family that she cannot be with? And so she wonders why that almost like perhaps fate has conspired to do that to her, and she considers what that means for her and her life. Next one, it is the east and Juliet is the sun. So again, this is Romeo in the balcony scene, just where Juliet was doing in the previous quotation. But this is where he's on the floor of the garden or the courtyard area, and he's looking up at the balcony at Juliet, and he says that as she appears on the balcony, it is the east and Juliet is the sun. So he looks to her as almost like a sun rising, like a dawn. So metaphorically, he's saying that her rising and coming into his life is like bringing light like the sun does into the world. So she brings light into his world. It's a new dawn. It's a new hope for him, because previously he was upset. He was miserable, as we looked at before. He said that, you know, love was a weight on him, and love pricked like a thorn. Now all those thoughts and feelings are forgotten, because Juliet has brought, you know, all this positivity and true love into his life. 'Tis thy name that is thy enemy. So again, pause if you need to and write down what you know. So this is Juliet realizing that the only part of Romeo that she hates is his name. And therefore, if she only hates his name, she doesn't hate the person underneath. So she's considering what that means for her. And she's perhaps considering what she's been brought up to believe about hating Montagues. And maybe the fact that it's wrong, because the name is just something which can be removed. It's not physical. It's like they talk about having a calf to dop. It's the idea that something can be removed quite easily. And so the name, she realizes, is not important to who he is as a person. And so again, this is the idea of love taking hold of her and making her question what she's been previously brought up to believe. A rose bearing a name would smell as sweet. So again, pause if you need to, write down what you know. So Juliet now understands that Romeo's beauty and this instant sort of love and attraction she feels for him is perfect, and if he was called something else, if he had a different family name, it wouldn't change that. So therefore she's realizing that her love shouldn't change, because who he is not affected by his label. You know, his name is his identity, that it bears no relation to the quality of the person that he is underneath that name. Thou art a villain. Okay, so this is now a little bit later. This is Act 3, Scene 1. Tybalt is now confronting Romeo in the streets, and Tybalt's still really angry about Romeo appearing at the Capulet ball in Act 1, Scene 5. And so he insists to him that you are a villain and he's going to take revenge. Romeo tries to avoid this conflict. Romeo says that he now loves the Capulet family. He's not specific as to why, because he's now technically at this point married to Juliet, even though it happened in secret off stage. But obviously he can't tell Tybalt that, because that would enrage him even further. But Tybalt won't listen to Romeo's, Romeo trying to avoid this conflict, and Tybalt insists upon a physical conflict to settle their differences, because he wanted that revenge ever since Act 1, Scene 5. A plague on both your houses. Okay, so this is the same scene. This is Act 3, Scene 1, and this is just after Mercutio has been killed, as he got in between the fight between Romeo and Tybalt, and he instantly turns as a character. Up until this point, he's been full of jokes, he's been full of, bawdy sexual comments, he's been full of things which are very unserious. He doesn't take life seriously in general, but now he instantly changes as a character, and he's gone from someone who's very, unserious to someone who is now realizing the truth of what's going on. And it's almost like his own death is making him realize that everything that's been going on is just stupid and pointless. He realizes the pettiness of the argument between the households, and he blames them both. He casts a curse, a plague on both of those houses, because their shared hatred, he realizes, is pointless, and death has allowed him to see that truth. Oh, I am fortune's full. So again, this is the similar sort of area in the play, and after killing Tybalt, Romeo now realizes that, fate's almost conspiring against him. He is a fool to fate, and a fool is something which would be laughed at as a figure of mockery. He thinks that both he as a character or as a person and his life in general is almost like one big joke to fate, and he feels as though he's the one who's always on the receiving end of it. And so he's really, really upset at this point, and he realizes the actions that he's just taken in killing Tybalt is going to have serious consequences for his own fate, for his own destiny. Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? So again, this is later on in play. I think this is Act 3, Scene 5, and Lord Capulet has delivered his decree, his order to Juliet to marry Paris, because the loss of Tybalt, his kinsman, makes him realise that actually life's a little bit more temporary than what he was thinking before, and so he doesn't have time to wait like he was willing to do before, when he said in Act 1 that he would be willing to give Juliet time, to make her own decision and to develop as a young woman. But now he's decided no, she must marry Paris, and he can't understand why she won't do it. Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? He's really getting quite angry, because he considers Paris to be worthy someone who, you know, would be a great partner for her. And so now his lack of knowledge about why she won't refuse, because obviously he doesn't know that she's married to Romeo in secret, that lack of understanding really grows into a rage, and he threatens to kick her out and to disown her. And so he becomes really, really angry at his daughter, and there's definitely a divide that occurs in the family at this point. I defy you, stars. Again, pause if you need to, write down what you know. So this is much later on in the play now. This is you know, very much towards the end, and Romeo is told by Balthazar about Juliet's death, although she isn't actually dead, obviously, at this point. And he's instantly full of grief, and he wants to turn against his path. He's realised throughout the play that fate has been putting him on a course away from what he wants. He always feels like he's the victim, and so now he's thinking, no, I'm going to defy fate. I'm going to go against my path, my destiny, and effectively go against God, which would be quite, you know, scandalous and blasphemous at this time. And so he realizes that or he thinks that by going to Juliet's tomb and taking his own life, he's going against what God's plan for him was. But really, he's just playing in to the fate which was set for him right from the very beginning, that we said, like in that first quotation, these two lovers, star-crossed lovers, take their life, and he's merely playing into fate's hands. So Shakespeare's been really clever here and showing us the inevitability of fate and the powerlessness that we all have. It's also trying to show what, you know, love is actually doing to him, and the way in which love has emboldened and strengthened, you know, his determination to actually prioritize love over hatred and above anything else. And then, thus with a kiss I die. So, as Romeo then takes the poison, he's got to the tomb at this point, and by this point he's killed Paris as well. Romeo realizes the power of the drugs that the apothecary has sold him. The apothecary said they were strong enough to kill 20 men straight. But he wants his final thoughts and his final actions in this life to not be about hatred, but to be about love. He wants love to be the last thing on his mind as he leaves this world. And so Shakespeare's showing that love can completely transform someone, and also perhaps that love is more important than fate. And Romeo's true love for Juliet was worth giving up his life for. And then you've got the last line of the play. Okay, so for never was the story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. So Shakespeare, again, using this rhyming couplet at the end, signifying a really important line. Obviously, we don't need to talk about the rhyme in itself, but it does highlight to us that this is very significant, and it reinforces the idea of tragedy. This is a tragedy as a play. Tragedy is a type of play that Shakespeare wrote, and so all has been lost. Both families have lost what was most important to them, their children, and so that loss is now going to unite them and bring them together in a way that nothing else ever could. So effectively, love has rebuilt the bridges between the two families, but they've had to be punished. They've had to lose in order to actually do that. So there are no winners in this. Both families have lost what they held most dear to them. Okay, so that's it for this video. Those are the key quotations which we have taught you in our Delta schools to revise and to analyse. Work your way back through this video if you need to. Look at the explanations which are on screen. I've made sure that what's on screen is not the same as what I've been reading out to you. They kind of complement each other. I'm not just reading off the screen here. And try and work some of these ideas in combination with the themes that we've spoken about and Shakespeare's message to show your understanding of these key quotations in Romeo and Juliet. Thank you.